Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk about using erg mode on the indoor trainer and should you use it, should you not use it, when should you use it. So as a coach, I would actually prefer you to never use erg. That's because erg riding is really not realistic to what we do outside. We're always controlling our own power. We have to shift outside. We feel the terrain changes. And with erg mode, that is not the case. But that said, I love using erg mode and I use it for most of my indoor workouts. So I understand if you would want to use erg mode, there are some benefits to that. Okay, the best workout to use erg mode in would be a longer steady state workout that is not particularly hard. So if you're close to your edge and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I can get through this, then maybe not using erg mode is better so you can control the power and you can drop below that interval power if you need to. But if you still want to use erg mode for a harder steady state workout, just be ready to adjust the percentage up and down. So if it does start getting a little hard, you can drop that power while you're still in erg. Likewise, if you're feeling great and you want to do higher power, you can adjust the power while you're still in erg to go a little bit harder. The intervals I really suggest you do not use erg for would be VO2 and anaerobic. Now, VO2, sometimes I do use erg, but like I was talking about, VO2 is usually really close to my edge. So I'm always very careful to be ready to adjust that erg up and down as needed. Anaerobic are really the intervals I don't want my athletes doing on erg. These can be anywhere from 15, 20 seconds to up to a minute. You kind of are in this gray zone over a minute. That could be anaerobic. It could be borderline VO2. That's when I would say if it's an interval over a minute, then it's your choice whether or not to use erg or not. But if it's under a minute, I highly recommend just doing it non-erg. And there are a few reasons for this. First of all, anaerobic is not necessarily steady paced. Like if I'm doing a 30-second hard surge, I might start really high power and then I fade. And erg is not realistic. If I'm using erg, one, it's going to trap me in a certain power and I might want to go harder or I might want to go lower and I can't. And two, it's going to put me steady state. And that is very not real world. Like when you're doing a hard surge outside, it kind of follows this pattern. Like it goes up in power, then it goes down. Erg is going to really kind of dampen that. Like you can still go up and down a little bit, but you will be limited. Another reason I recommend no erg for these shorter intervals is because you might be having a really good day and your power might be off the charts. You just don't know. There's really a much wider range where I'm having my athletes hit power-wise when they're doing anaerobic. And I really just want them to go by feel. Like I want them to go very, very hard. And erg could limit you and prevent you from going even harder, or erg might be set too high and you can't go that hard and you bog down. So anaerobic is kind of very personal, and that's why I recommend no erg so you can feel it out and really make it match how you are feeling that day. And there are some situations where I would actually recommend my athletes to use erg mode over not erg mode. For example, sometimes I give my athletes high or low cadence drills, and I want it at a very specific power. And some athletes, when they do high cadence, they automatically raise the power. So they have a lot of trouble sort of separating the force and the cadence. In other words, when they raise their cadence, they also raise their force, and that raises the power. And I want that power to be low. I don't want the force to be high. So if they're unable to do that, and by default, they're always going higher power with higher cadence, or maybe lower power with lower cadence, and I want them at a certain power, I would say, you know what, let's try this on erg. That's going to stick you at that power. Then you don't need to worry about the force because that will basically be controlled for you by the trainer. All you have to think about is pedaling at that cadence. And that will get their bodies used to separating the force and the cadence, essentially. And then once their body gets used to that feeling, then I would say, okay, try it without erg. Now, because you know how it feels, maybe you will be able to do that cadence and power combination. And one other trick for erg and no erg is that you don't have to stick on erg or no erg for the whole workout. I often tell my athletes, okay, this is a steady state workout. During the steady state parts, you can do erg, but then look, I gave you a couple 30-second surges. Take it off for those 30-second surges. Do those surges as hard as you like, and then put erg back on for the steady state. So you can toggle in between the two. Hope that helps.